I mean, if I don't apply for a visa, he can't go anywhere. So, like, I could just hold on to his marriage certificate and never apply for a visa.
Okay, so you're getting this new tattoo. Is that, like, to prove that you love her just as much as you used to love the person on the back of your neck, or what?
I never have organs. I'm sorry, guys.
Some people say that I look like an Indian Jesus.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about the first episode of 90 Day Fiance, The Other Way. Now, this is one of my favorite spin-offs of the 90 Day Fiance franchise because I just love watching Americans go to other countries, especially when it's not more westernized countries, because we just don't do well. We don't do well outside of the United States, and it's hilarious to watch.
I want to go home.
Okay, so we're starting off with our wannabe New York witch, Danielle.
My name is Danielle. I'm 42 years old, and I live in the Big Apple.
Now, you may remember Danielle and Yohan from Love in Paradise, the other 90 Day Fiance spinoff. And just being honest here, that is probably the one spinoff I haven't watched. I did see that these guys were going to be on it and that they were previously on that, so I went ahead and I binged the second season. I have yet to watch the first season of it. I wasn't going to watch it out of principle because I was like, I watch everything that 90 Day Fiance puts out. I need some order in my life.
This isn't healthy, Lillian.
So I was not going to watch it out of principle, but then I had to, so.
I was not in control of that situation at all.
So Danielle and Yohan met in the Dominican Republic while she was on vacation. That story probably sounds familiar at this point. And despite all of their cultural and religious differences and the peanuts,
Yohan ate $200 worth of peanuts. I don't really know how that's possible.
they fell in love and they got married. And now their biggest problem is deciding on where to live. Yohan wants to come to America so that he can make more money and send it back to his family, which is very common in Dominican Republic. We've seen it a lot, especially on this show. Meanwhile, Danielle is tired of New York City. She's tired of the hustle and bustle, and she wants to move to the islands to live a slower, more peaceful life.
I just want to enjoy my life with the love of my life in a slower pace near the ocean.
While Danielle is at lunch with her friends, she reveals that she really has no plans on making money or how she's going to make money once she's there.
How are you going to afford it? How?
I'm going to manifest it.
I don't think that's a good idea.
The topic of her pension came up as well. She's been a teacher, I think, for about 10 to 15 years, something like that. So she has a pretty good pension with them. And they told her that if she stayed one more year, that would mean an extra $15,000 a year. And she's just willing to throw that away.
Because like an extra $15,000 a year when I'm 63 isn't going to be that meaningful to me.
The only way I would find this true is if she already had a fuck ton in her pension. I don't claim to know how all of that works, how much money she has. Maybe she is fine. She doesn't need an extra $15,000. But I feel like until you've had to live on a fixed income or just like your Social Security, you don't know how much that extra $15,000 would mean to you. And the other big red flag is she has not told Yohan that she wants to live in the DR.
Yohan thinks that we're going to move to the United States and live there permanently, that we're just waiting for his visa.
That is the furthest thing from the truth.
I'm a little bit apprehensive to tell Yohan that it's not an accurate belief because I have no plan on ever coming back to New York.
She keeps talking about how expensive New York is and how she doesn't want to live that type of lifestyle anymore and she wants to be on the beach. And I'm just like, move to Florida.
Welcome to Florida, America's droopy dick.
So she is going on one more trip to the DR to see Yohan, and she's hoping on this trip that she can start planning her move to the DR and, of course, most importantly, let her husband know what she plans on doing.
Hola, mi amor.
I have to say, one of my favorite scenes in the 90 Day franchise is always the airport scenes. It's just such a nice memory to look back on before, the dumpster fires.
I have to somehow explain to Yohan that we're never going to New York.
¿Cómo?
So they're in the car and she is explaining to him that she doesn't want to live in New York City anymore. And he's like, that isn't what you told me. You told me you were coming over here until we get my visa. And she says, oh, that was during COVID. And during COVID, there was no one in the city. So I thought it would be fine. But now everyone's back and everything's even more expensive, which I'm sure is true. Don't get me wrong. But it's just really annoying for her to keep saying that when it's like the United States is massive. There's plenty of other places that you could live. You could live in another part of New York State and it'd be much cheaper. She says she pays $4,000 in rent a month. Like, bitch, you could go buy a house with that.
Aquí en mi país tú trabajas años y años y no tienes nada.
Yohan is saying that Danielle does not understand what it's really like to live in the DR. I remember in the Love in Paradise when she went to go see his family, she was very uncomfortable living in or being in his home because it was very poor, if we're being honest. But even Yohan's mom had said at that point that she has worked every day of her life since she was 11 years old. And she's like, I don't have anything. And he's like, you work to survive day by day. So they don't have anything extra. And it just makes me wonder, especially with that comment she said about the marriage certificate.
I mean, if I don't apply for a visa, he can't go anywhere. So, I could just hold on to his marriage certificate and never apply for a visa.
It makes me wonder, does she really want to move to the DR to live this slower lifestyle by the beach? Or does she just want to ensure that he won't leave her as soon as she gets him to the States? Okay, so now we get to meet Chris.
My name is Chris. I'm from Haleyville, Alabama.
Chris is the 40-year-old unicorn onesie sporting shipping manager from Haleyville, Alabama. Chris is a bisexual woman who has remained mostly in the closet up until this point because she lives in such a small town in the South where LGBTQ people are still not really accepted. Chris has been married a couple times. Neither relationship lasted very long.
I never was happy in my relationships. So I've raised my kids as a single mother for a lot of years.
She said she does consider herself bisexual, but she is more attracted to women. Now that she's older and her kids are grown, she has decided that she wants to be happy, and that is what led her to getting online.
I decided to go online. This crazy ad for this international dating website popped up,
which is where she met Jamie.
My name is Jamie, Venezuela, but I live in Bogota, Colombia.
Jamie has been out of the closet for about 5 years now, and she has a somewhat similar story to Chris. She didn't really realize that she was gay until she started going to therapy because she just was feeling like something was wrong with her, and her therapist said, I think you might be a lesbian, and she was like,
oh my God. I understand everything right now.
Also, like Chris, she has never been in an official relationship with a female, but unlike Chris, she does consider herself a lesbian and not bisexual.
I'm a lesbian today, tomorrow, and the next weekend, and the next year, and the next month. I'm sorry, I'm lesbian.
We understand.
And again, unlike Chris, she is not out to her family. Where she's from, Venezuela, is still a very conservative country. So she knows that her family, her parents specifically, will just think that she's not normal, which is just really sad to hear, but it is also a reality for a lot of people who are in the LGBTQ community. Now, these two just seem absolutely crazy for each other, despite having not met in person yet. Chris says how Jamie got COVID a while back, and she said she almost watched her die.
I almost lost her once. I'm not going to risk losing her again.
And that is what sparked her to just go ahead, make the plunge, and to move to Colombia to be with her and to marry her.
Even though Jamie and I have never met in person, Jamie and I will be getting married 9 days after I arrive in Colombia.
No, well, that's
responsible. But, of course, there's already some pretty big red flags.
Desapareció 20 días antes de mi cumpleaños.
That's a red flag.
Y regresó o apareció de nuevo para mi cumpleaños diciéndome que lo sentía mucho, que tenía muchos problemas.
And during this time of Chris ghosting her, she started talking to another woman who was from Texas.
Pues yo le respondí y continuamos hablando aproximadamente por un mes.
And then when Chris came back, they worked it out and got back together. But this girl ended up messaging Chris saying that Jamie was scamming her and that when Jamie said she had COVID, she never did. And that she was working the entire time because Chris was helping her pay bills because she said she couldn't work because she had COVID.
Oh boy, another red flag.
And not only that, but Chris reveals that she suffers from narcolepsy.
Narcolepsy is merely sleeping sickness.
And she's worried on how Jamie will handle that once she's over there. And now we're moving on to Rishi.
Some people say that I look like an Indian Jesus.
Do they though?
Rishi is a 32-year-old personal trainer / fitness model from India. He says don't let those pretty looks fool you though. He's got a brain hiding under all that curly long hair.
I have a law degree from the law college and I also have a master degree from the University of Rajasthan.
He said he just wasn't happy working as a lawyer, so he gave it up to become a personal trainer because that's where his passion is at. And when he started doing that, people started telling him that he should try modeling, and he said they kept pushing him, so he went ahead and gave it a shot.
People want it from me and they pushed me and I tried it once and it's boom.
Really, really, really ridiculously good looking?
Give me pose.
Latigra, Magnum, coarse, blue steel.
I nailed it.
He says because of his job as a fitness model and a trainer, he has women just throwing themselves at him, and that is how he met his fiance, Jen.
I'm Jen, and I'm 46 years old, and I live in Stillwell, Oklahoma.
Jen and Rishi met when she was on a solo trip to India. They met at a hotel and they just started talking, and he started showing her some of his modeling pictures, and at first she said she was turned off and was like, no thank you. But then a couple days later they saw each other again and he ended up winning her over.
And within a month of us meeting, he proposed.
Jen says she already has a history of not picking the right guys for her though.
I would choose guys who were good looking and very charismatic.
And this is history repeating itself.
Jen and Rishi have been separated for 2 years because of COVID, waiting for the borders to reopen. And because of that, that put a lot of stress on their relationship and they almost ended it.
I'd love to be wrong about this, but I have a feeling that you're distancing yourself and that maybe you're not all in.
Jen says that he didn't ghost her, but he definitely wasn't responding and keeping in touch with her the way that she felt he should be. And Jen definitely seems to be putting more of the blame on herself for being insecure.
We definitely went through a period where I had a lot of doubts.
Does anyone else find it weird that they still had that breakup video however many years later? I guess I would just think that maybe I would delete it because I wouldn't want to think about the time that the time I was feeling heartbroken, I guess. That's just me though. Do you guys think that's weird? Jen's brother expresses that he's pretty worried about her being far away from her support system, especially because she doesn't have the best track record with men. So he's worried about this crashing and burning and her being on the other side of the world.
You know, you have more support system that works on your benefit here, but you're choosing to make it difficult on yourself.
And so
Now you'll be in India with nowhere to go.
This is a couple that I'm actually anxious to see together because I'm really curious on their chemistry together. Okay, last but not least, let's meet Gabriel.
My name is Gabriel. I'm 32 years old, and I'm from Margate, Florida.
Gabe is the owner of an underwear company that is specifically made for female to male transitioners. The underwear actually already has a bulge sewn into it so that the person can feel more aligned with the gender that they identify with.
Bada bing, bada boom. You have like a bulge right there.
Gabe knew there was a need for this product because he himself is a trans man.
I'm trans. Once upon a time I was a girl, and now I'm a whole man. A whole man, because I already got my surgery.
And it was actually because of this underwear that he met Isabel. He went on a trip to Colombia looking for a new manufacturer, and it was through a mutual friend that he met Isabel, and they just hit it off right away.
That night, we went out, we was kissing, we was dancing, we was hugging. It was a great night.
Gabe said that he knew that she was special right away. So he decided he didn't want to keep any secrets from her, and he told her that he was trans the next day, and thankfully she had no problems with it.
And she tells me it's okay, because I just see you as a man.
So for the last year, Gabe has been going back and forth from the US to Colombia, staying with her and her kids, and he's decided he is going to move there to be with her full time.
And I'm proposing to her because I cannot be away from this woman.
Gabe occasionally likes to go and do a one-man pride parade out on the streets, and his friend sometimes comes and joins him, and they end up going to lunch, and during this lunch, he reveals that her parents still do not know that he is trans.
So what about like the family? You around? Any questions or anything like that? Her mom and dad, they don't know. And I'm trying to marry their daughter.
Well, then this will be awkward.
Gabe definitely wants to tell her parents, but he's worried that they will not be accepting, and that will end up messing up his and Isabel's relationship because she is very close to her parents. Before Gabe heads out to Colombia, he decides to get a tattoo for Isabel, and his sister's not a big fan of it.
Okay, so you're getting this new tattoo. Is that like
To prove that you love her just as much as you used to love the person on the back of your neck, or what?
Yes, he's getting her name tattooed on him, but don't worry, he's getting the other name blacked out, so it's fine.
That's a red flag.
Gabe's sister kind of drills him a little bit on just the relationship in general and how he seems to kind of be a little bit of a serial monogamist, if you know what I mean. She says he jumps from relationship to relationship and thinks every girl is different, but he kind of picks the same girl over and over again.
they're the greatest thing ever and they're so much more different from the other person?
And by what Gabe says right here, it seems that she knows her brother pretty well.
But Isabel's different. I know she's different. I feel it in my heart that she's different, in my soul, in my brain.
Anyway, I am really excited for when he gets to Colombia and we finally get to meet Isabel. Okay, that is it for the first episode of 90 Day Fiance The Other Way. I will be covering the rest of the series, so make sure to look out for those videos. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today, so I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.